Dom Nicastro here, Managing Editor of CMSWire with new CMSWire contributor Kellie Capote, Chief Customer Officer at Gainsight. What's going on, Kellie?
Having a good day. Happy to be here.
Now, is that just a beautiful home you have, or is that like a fake Zoom background? Come on, be honest.
Come on, you had to call me out like that. This is absolutely a virtual background.
Okay.
We're in the middle of moving to a new home. Like we're in a temporary rental home. So this is not nearly as
Oh,
pretty
there
as
you
my
go.
virtual background looks. Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm getting real. I got the exercise bike thing I never use, and then just a closet. Like that's my background. And
Well, if I turned mine off, I would literally have the exact same background as you. It's a
yeah,
closet and a Peloton that never gets used.
we're parents. We go to where the quiet room is. Like
Yeah,
that's the game here. All right.
indeed, indeed. Too
But
funny.
it's so good to have you as a new contributor. And we talked about, what are we gonna write about, what are we gonna do? And it's like, you're a customer experience leader, and we want those folks on CMS Wire telling their stories, personal stories really, about CX leadership. So we're looking forward to your columns down the road on all things CX and leadership there. It's such a crucial role right now. And your article is talking about CX needs to step up. It just needs to step up and go to the next level. But before we get into that, let's tell our listeners a little bit more about you and how you arrived in that current role.
Yeah, good question. So, been at Gainsight for about 5.5 years. Been in the CCO role specifically. My goodness, I'm losing count. I think like a year and a half plus now. But I spent the entirety of my career at Gainsight in customer success. I built out our enterprise team, and then I led all of customer success. And I had the immense pleasure when our old CCO left, our CEO offered me the opportunity to spread my wings and lead the post-sales organization. So it was a natural extension of what I was already doing, but it's been a ton of fun just to really be able to oversee all the core functions of services and support and CSM. And then we have a what we call a centralized ops and scale organization as well, and really get everyone marching, to the same beat in terms of customer centricity. So prior to that, I've been in customer facing roles for 17, 18 years. Started more of a traditional sales background, and then that quickly morphed into more account management, partner management before we all started coining it customer success. But I've always had just innate love for working with customers, driving them to value, sharing feedback cross-functionally, to continue to make that experience better and drive them towards their desired business outcomes.
Yeah, I'm always wondering where these customer experience leaders come from,
Yeah.
because you can envision a CEO path, you can envision sometimes a CFO path, even a
Sure.
CMO, but like your acronym would be what? CCO, right?
CCO.
So the CCO path, what is the common path of a CCO? Because I put out a tweet that had a poll. And I said, is it marketing? Is it sales? Is it customer support or other? You know
Yeah.
what one?
Really?
Other one. So I don't know where you guys are coming from. I mean, you
It's
you seem to be you seem to be customer facing your whole career.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I will tell you that it's interesting in the past like 12 to 18 months, a lot of the CCOs I've been engaging with, there's a critical mass at least that have had some type of sales background. It seems to be a common thread there, whether it was account management, or traditional sales VP, and then they're realizing that customer success or customer experience is a growth engine for your business. And so much of the skill sets that you rely on for sales are transferable. And since the appreciation is growing around customer experience, more folks are kind of converting their energy into that and driving towards longer term relationships if that's what kind of gets them excited. So
Yeah.
I also see it coming from one of the three pillars, like either support or services, or a CS leader. A lot of times those folks just kind of add on functions, and then they're a natural stepping point into the CCO role.
Yeah, it's every organization is different, and from our own little team at CMS Wire, which is owned by Simpler Media Group, we marketing and sales is definitely front lines, of customer
Yep.
experience,
Yep.
um, for sure. And then in editorial, we don't have that direct path to a customer, that customer. the one that pays the bills. We feel like we have a direct path to a super important customer, the reader, the
Mhm.
consumer.
Yeah,
Those are my stakeholders
exactly.
who I'm like beholden to create good content and just inspire them to do their work better.
Yeah,
So it's somehow, some way, I think every single role is customer facing. you
totally,
know?
totally. Whether
Yeah.
it's kind of direct, indirect, or yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Kelly, in article number 1, you put the call out to CX teams, CX leaders to get things done. And the first one is kind of like just creating more of a value proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I like to call it is like, let's all make customer success less squishy.
Yeah.
I think customer experience for so long, and it still hinges on the philosophy. Like, granted, we always want to have, great relationships and foster those things. But it takes more than that, especially if you look at market conditions and the economic landscape right now. It has to be hinged on value, and we have to have a data-driven approach to doing this. So going back to your question of like, who do we see moving into the CCO role? What I'm seeing is a trend that as customer success and customer experience has gained appreciation, we have to be able to draw the attribution, right? And have that standardized set of metrics to prove out the good work we're doing. And how is that translating to top and bottom growth from a business perspective? So very synonymous to how sales is looking at pipeline generations and bookings and targets, conversion rates. In success, we need to have like strong clarity in terms of what are the outcomes we're trying to move the needle on, usually gross retention, net retention, et cetera. What are the leading indicators that we're going to measure? Like, how do we have a pulse in terms of which way we're moving? Are we going to move in the right direction, or are we moving in the wrong direction? And then being able to align the right high value activities to those leading indicators. So it's really that connective tissue of high value activities to leading indicators of lagging outcomes, and making sure you have a way to socialize that, to your internal teams, to your executive team, to your board, so that they understand the true impact, that customer experience is happening. And by the way, it's not just retention, right? It's not
Mm.
just we're plugging the leaky bucket, but if we do this right, customer experience really is a growth engine for your business, and we're going to drive expansion and advocacy and all these different financial vectors that have real business impact and drive valuations and everything that we're seeing in the market today.
Sounds super easy. I mean,
That's so easy. My
just
job's so easy.
I know. Just go and show a slide about your, CSAT score and you're done. The board is
Yep.
happy, right? Thank you. We improved our CSAT. We're done. I mean, there's so many layers that we're learning about. And I just laugh sometimes. You get answers like, what's your customer experience program? And then someone shows me the NPS, and
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, there's so much, many more layers to it than that, you know.
indeed.
Um,
Indeed. Always
and
very multidimensional.
yeah, and not to throw out more acronyms, but in your column you talk about the DEAR approach, DEAR. So I'd love to hear
Yes.
more about that.
Yeah, we love acronyms. So DEAR, like if we zoom out when we think about customer experience or customer success, we always say it's the combination of two things. And DEAR is specifically pointed at the outcomes piece. So yes, we need to deliver an exceptional experience. That's the CX component. But then we also need to basically drive towards, desired business outcomes. So for our health score methodology, what we like to say is you need to have like a customer outcomes bucket that's very objective. That goes back to the data-driven approach. So DEAR is really answering the core 4 fundamental questions that you want to understand. Like, is your customer activated? D is for deployment. E is, are we engaged? Like, are we multi-threaded in that account and talking to the right personas and seeing the right level of activity that's indicative of like future success and renewals and expansion? A is adoption. Like at the end of the day, we're not getting outcomes if we're not at least adopting or using the product. So looking at it in terms of breadth and depth. And then R is ROI. Like, do we understand what business outcomes they're trying to achieve as step 1? And then what are we working on, or what is the technology helping in terms of moving the needle, and then coming back full circle and validating that we did in fact realize it. So that's our framework. It can become extremely predictive. So going back to how do you make customer success less squishy, if you can really hone in and get that dialed in right, that's actually how you can run your business and build, retention forecasts for the next year. That's how we build our GRR model here at Gainsight, is using the health score and using that predictability to kind of back into the business, and then showing, your executive teams and your board, like, hey, we know that when customers have green ROI in our system, that there's a 15% more likelihood to renew. So if I go run this program, that's going to impact X amount of dollars, which is going to yield this to the business. And then you're speaking in this strategic position that everybody can get behind.
Yeah.
And it helps open that up to like the whole organization understanding the importance of this and getting the cross-functional buy-in to really, I think, drive, customer experience forward in an integrated, cohesive approach.
Yeah. It seems at the core of it, it seems to be, here's what happens. This is the action that happens when the numbers are like this. When these people have this experience, they generally do this next. Right.
Exactly.
That's why the whole one-to-one personalization thing, I think, is more of a dream. I think you got to think in what you're talking about in terms of the big pools of customers that do things, they react, and then they have, experiences based on what happens to them.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you have a framework and a way to look at it in that data-driven way, it's going to allow you to scale your customer experience efforts. So it doesn't have to be all heroics, right?
Yeah.
And super high touch. You can understand, like, you know what the customer is trying to achieve. You have indicators of if it's working. You can drive personalized experiences. There's so much you can do if you just get that kind of backbone in place to drive the organization strategy.
And I'm brainstorming here. I'm thinking of your next articles. Like, I'm already looking ahead.
I love it.
Forget this debut that's in this article here we're talking about. But I'm thinking something like, I have a board meeting and they want to hear about CX. Here's what I say. Something like that.
Yeah,
I think
I would love to do that.
CX leaders would love that, like talking to a board. Like, what's the language that a board can really get behind in CX terms? Do they care if you say things like, well, we're doing journey mapping, like they probably don't.
They need the so what, like, okay, so what is this driving? Like, what is it doing for the business? And that might be a great future session. I actually created like a board deck, a CS board deck slide template, and sanitize it for people to use for that exact reason, around trying to get the movement going of like elevating all of everyone in CX to be super strategic and have the same kind of playing field, so to speak, as the CROs and our sales leaders out there, because it really is a group effort. And so much of the revenue is being, managed on the CS side after the initial sale.
Yeah. So you mean in the board meeting, Kelly, you shouldn't start explaining how CCPA works?
No,
okay.
You're getting in the weeds. You're getting in the weeds. No, you have lost them at that.
Yep. They'll move. Next slide.
Yeah.
All right. So we're looking forward to more copy down the road. Hopefully people are enjoying this one in the video. And I really appreciate your time, Kellie Capote.
Yeah.
Of
Likewise. Looking forward to it.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye now.